Gaza and Hamas, they've never been reluctant about making a deal. They've always been ready and willing to make a deal. They've offered time and time again to make a deal. But Netanyahu, throughout the genocide, has had the backing of the neocons, has had the backing of Biden, has had the backing of the military-industrial complex, and that faction of the OCGFC. And the neocons largely staff the bureaucracy of the State Department, because that's been the default political philosophy of the United States for the last 80 years. So because you have this faction that sort of dominates the bureaucracy of the State Department, there's a difficulty in a uniformity of vision, getting everyone on the same program, getting everyone on the same message. So I think that they've been grappling with each other, these two factions. They've been grappling with each other to try to achieve some uniformity of vision in terms of American policy. But I think that the election of Donald Trump actually shows that the A-National OCGFC are dominant. They won this wrestling match. And the neocons, yes, are receding. They're receding in power. They're declining in power. They're decreasing in power. So as I've said many times, I think that the vision for the A-National OCGFC, the financial elites who are aligning themselves with BRICS wisely, intelligently, they're aligning themselves with BRICS, they're aligning themselves with the Gulf, and that includes BlackRock. The A-National OCGFC, they want to see the Middle East stabilized. They want to see conflicts end. And they want to see Zionism defanged. And they want to see Zionism eventually gone. And they want Israel to be integrated into the region. They want it to be integrated into the region with less and less dependence on the United States. And this is what has been taking shape all this time. And has been accelerating over the last 3 months or so, really since the election. Iran is out of Syria. Iran is distancing themselves from their proxy militias, and Israel has been put on notice that the genocide has to end, that the conflict has to end. The ceasefire was accomplished clearly by Trump's people, not by Biden's people, which means that it was accomplished by the A-National OCGFC. And I think that it will go forward. I think that the ceasefire will go forward. I think that Netanyahu will probably try to push back against the pressure to basically see if the neocons still have his back or not. But I don't think they will. I think everyone in Washington is going to have to recalibrate. All of the power structure in the United States is going to have to recalibrate. The neocons, the Zionists, the Israeli lobbies, and so on. Everybody, that whole ecosystem of profiteering that has been built around and has been operating for 60 to 70 years or so around the Israel colonial project, all of that is being made obsolete, in my opinion. I think that whether Netanyahu cooperates or not will basically determine whether or not he goes to The Hague, whether or not he actually faces charges of genocide and crimes against humanity. He will either exit politics by going to jail if he doesn't cooperate with the A-National OCGFC, or he will exit politics on the condition that he will not go to jail. But either way, I can't personally see that he has any future whatsoever in politics in Israel. I think that under the Trump administration, we're likely to see a Saudi normalization deal, a Saudi normalization agreement with Israel. And I think that under Trump, that will probably be made, that agreement will probably be made on the basis of establishing not a Palestinian state, but on establishing an irreversible process towards establishing a Palestinian state, which is a concession, because they have been insisting upon the establishment of a state. But I think that they will agree to this concession, knowing that statehood negotiations will include regional mediators. In other words, it won't be those negotiations will not be under the auspices of just Israel and America. It will be under the auspices of the GCC and BRICS, which means it will actually be a serious process. So I think that they'll be willing to make that concession on the basis of knowing that the negotiations will actually be serious. Look, Israel is crumbling. That's a reality. That's a fact. I mean, did you know that even 1/3 of all young American Jews reportedly sympathize with Hamas now? Your own people. Almost 1 million Israelis were out protesting Netanyahu's government the other day. Now, obviously, they weren't protesting his government because they support Gaza. But the point is that society is fractured. They don't like their government. They don't like Netanyahu. You know, the global credit rating for Israel has dropped. They've spent almost $70 billion, maybe more, since October 7th. That's their own money. That's apart from the American money that they've spent, which is also in the billions. They gave up the port of Eilat. They're not able to build anything. There's no construction happening. Businesses are closing. Businesses are leaving. Citizens are leaving. And I mean, consider the fact that in Israel, there's only roughly 100,000 people, literally 100,000 people, who are really meaningfully contributing to the economy, that are highly that have high expertise in the medical sector, in the tech sector, and so on. And those are exactly the kind of people who are likely to leave, because those are dual passport holders, most of them, you know. Or anyway, they have a high level of skills, and they have a high expectation in terms of their standard of living. So these are the kind of, these are the type of people who are leaving. You know, their soldiers are either defecting, or they're checking themselves into mental hospitals, or they're killing themselves. There are countries all around the world that are imposing weapons embargoes against Israel. Workers are refusing to unload Israeli goods. It's a disaster for Israel. This has been an absolute disaster for them, not to mention, obviously, their standing in the world. And by the way, no one, neither Blinken, nor Biden, nor anyone has said anything at all whatsoever about any plans or any proposals for how to revive the Israeli economy after Gaza, after the so-called war in Gaza, the genocide in Gaza. There's no plans for that. There's plans for rebuilding Gaza, but there's no plans. No one has announced any plans for rebuilding the Israeli economy.